Hi, I'm John Ronowitz, and I'm the manager of creative arts at the Fortune Society. Welcome to our Arts Festival. Every year we'd like to present some of the wonderful work that's being done in our arts program. This includes work in creative writing, music, theater, and drawing. We think the arts are an important part of what people need when they re-enter society from prison. When I got out of prison almost 10 years ago, fortune gave me a place to land, and I will always be grateful. While I was in prison, I wrote a lot of songs, and I want to do one of those for you now. It's called What Do You Think? And it's about, well, me wondering what people will think about me once I do come home. It seems like such a long time ago, but it's only been a handful of years. It's like looking in the rearview mirror. What's behind me is closer than it appears. All the faces and the places are in slow dissolve, but some memories still glow in the dark. And when they do, I awake in amazement at how everything can blow up with just a little spark. Oh, what do you think when you think about me? If you think about me at all. Oh, what do you think when you think about me? If you think about me at all. Oh, what do you think when it's late in the evening and the moon's making shadows on the wall? Oh, what do you think when you think about me? If you think about me, do you think about me at all? I've got several separate explanations for why I did the things I did. All the overlapping lies I told you, all the secrets I so carefully hid. I was flying, maybe trying to end it all in a crash. It was the only way I knew how to land. But the man I was then is a stranger to me now. I can't expect you to understand. Oh, what do you think when you think about me? If you think about me at all. Oh, what do you think when you think about me? If you think about me at all. About the changing of the season with the summer fading into the fall. Oh, what do you think when you think about me? If you think about me, do you think about me at all? Maybe you've written me out of your life, taking all my books down from your shelf. Not a strong enough word, but maybe you've learned to forgive me better than I'm learning to forgive myself. It seems like such a long time ago, and maybe time is gonna be on my side. Don't our deeds tend to shrink in significance, like shipwrecks worn down by the tide? If we meet on the street, will you shake my hand, or just turn away from me and curse? Do you hate me or negate me like I wasn't even there? I can't decide which fate is worse. So what do you think when you think about me? If you think about me at all. Oh, what do you think when you think about me? If you think about me at all. Oh, what do you think if maybe somewhere down the line, if you don't mind, I could give you a call? Oh, what do you think when you think about me? If you think about me, do you
Welcome, everybody. I'm Joanne Page. I'm Fortune's president and CEO, and I've been at Fortune since 1989 as a staff person, and before that as a volunteer. I want to welcome you to the wonderful Arts Festival that we're doing with a collection of wonderful partners whom you will see and hear from. But I want to talk a bit about Fortune and why an arts festival matters so much to us. David Rothenberg, who's our founder, talks about Fortune as a social movement that came out of the theater. And we started in the arts. We were born in the arts. We came out of a play. And all through our existence, and we're over 50 years old, we know how much the arts mean in terms of reaching people, touching people, having people express themselves, being advocates, putting a human face on the issues we work with, putting I don't know if human is the right word, putting a face on the savage criminal justice system that we work in the midst of. And what we've learned is that some people grow and heal by talking, and some people grow and heal by writing, and some people grow and heal by theater or by music. And the arts that we have made an integral part of Fortune are core to creating a place where people can rebuild their lives after the experience of incarceration, and where people can be advocates for a humane or more humane justice system. So we welcome you to be part of our Arts Festival, to celebrate with us and with our partners, and to take joy in seeing what the human spirit looks like in a nurturing environment. Welcome.
Yeah, this is Guy the Artist. This is our continuance class on stipple. What I do is I use dots, but I use them very, very, very close together to make different gray areas and to make it sort of that you don't see the dots. I make them so small you can't see them. But here we're doing Michelle. I'm going to get around the eye here. It's the main thing with this is patience. It's going to come out, but you have to trust that it will come out because you don't really see it while you're doing it. You see, it's just dots. In order to do this, you have to be real sensitive to light and dark. And that's what gives it the reality, the light and the dark. When I first started doing this, I had no idea what it was called, that it was a medium at all. What I did was copy a grainy photograph out of a newspaper. And it was just dots, and I said I could do that. And so that's what I did. I did it out of rebellion at first because they wouldn't let me paint in the feds. I was in the federal prison. And after I had done it, I liked black and white photographs and black and white movies, and I liked it, so I took it a little further. You got to keep ink on your pen because you're not really rolling the ball when you make dots, so it's not really gathering ink. Use this pen to do shading. Now, the pen's not really pressing on the paper. It's actually connecting with the dots. Well, let's just spread it. I mean, you think it is dry, it's not dry. It takes a while for ball pointing to dry. we're going to do Michelle's lips. We started last week. We're going to finish. We're going to do the shadow under here. People say, well, with most of my work, are you finished? And to me, I'm finished when I like it. It hasn't, I don't necessarily have to do this. It doesn't add to it, but for me, this is what makes her face and her lips. Her lips are very important, very, very important for her. Take a little kneaded eraser. I'm going to get that light right there. That's about it. But that's enough. I don't want to do too much. This is Guy the Artist signing off for the Fortune Society.
Good evening. I'm David Rothenberg, and I've been joined by Oskar Eustis, who's the artistic director of the Public Theater. We're kicking off a week-long Fortune Society Arts Festival. Fortune has enjoyed a rewarding relationship with the Public Theater for several years. We've been one of the designated community groups as part of the Public Works, which is sponsored by the Public Theater, which brings theater programs to Fortune as well as plays. And Oskar, I've sat in on many of the acting classes that at Fortune, and I'm increasingly aware of the healing component that the arts provides. And we have, in addition to acting classes, we have music, drawing, and writing. And it gives people a voice. Recently, I saw a documentary, Viola Davis said in this documentary about August Wilson, her quote was, "When people are denied their voice, there's a danger that they'll implode." And I thought that was fascinating. But at the Public, I know your mission is to present plays, but I also suspect that you see the theater as an agent for social change in the plays that you produce and how you produce them. But there's a healing component for the audience and for the artist. So I'm wondering how you approach that, or how you see healing as part of the arts for the participant and for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, mostly, David, I completely agree that healing is a huge part of what happens in a theater, but it doesn't necessarily happen simply because you're aiming at healing. I think it happens just by the act of aiming at making a piece of theater or aiming at acting. And that, there's a couple of different points about that seem in opposition to each other, but actually I think are the same thing. And the one is that you get a chance to express yourself. You get a chance to bring your whole being, your body, yourself is the instrument in theater. It's not a violin or a piano. It's you are the instrument. Yeah. And you get to bring that into the spotlight and speak. But you also get to try on being other people. You get to try other characters on for size. And we know this, Aristotle says this beautiful thing that imitation is the earliest and most pleasurable form of learning. And, when we're kids, we play at being other people. And for grownups, it serves the same need. By imagining yourself as someone else, you're expanding your own sense of what's possible for you. And when you play a king, you realize, oh, a king is just like me with a different set of clothes on. But he's not a completely different person. And so that process of imagining yourself bigger is, I think, a huge part of what's healing about the theater.
Yeah, I didn't mean to suggest that we go into a classroom and say, we're going to heal you. I think that it's the end result, at Fortune Society, which is one of the community groups in which Public Works participates. We have groups that the people that are in the acting classes also participate in anger management and drug prevention, relapse prevention. And it's occurred to me that's all about undoing the past and to the negative things in their life. But when you remove the time consumption and the emotional commitment to negative past, that it's exciting and almost essential to replace it with things that give you pride and acceptance. And I don't think it's exclusively in the arts, but to watch people for the first time, we do a play called The Castle, for people who are formerly incarcerated telling their story. And there's a Q&A afterwards, and the questions are pretty predictable. And one night this man said, "You've all had very negative past, and it's fascinating that you've used it to tell your past, to tell your stories. How does it feel to get applause?" And the cast, which is always very glib with a response, Victor Rojas turned to me and said, "Boy, that's a tough one, isn't it?" And I said, "Well, Victor, what is it?" And he said, "The only time I ever got attention in my life was when I was arrested or was when in court. And suddenly I'm telling the worst things that I ever did, and people are applauding me. And how does that make you feel?" That's a very exciting component. Now, I don't think we're suggesting that everybody take an acting class, suddenly become an actor, but it's the process itself. But for somebody who doesn't have our past, for actors who come to you, do you find that I don't think you don't sit and probe them, but do you, in your interaction socially with people, do you recognize that the acting experience enriches a person?
Oh, there's no question, David. It's both the acting itself enriches them, but also to be good at it, you have to keep expanding who you are. You have to keep expanding the possibilities. So good actors are always curious. They always want to know more about the world and how it works, because acting is actually a way of mastering the world. It's a way of saying, I can see what's happening in the world, and now I can play it back to the world. Just like the men you were talking about, by being able to tell their story, it's a way of mastering their story. Their story isn't in charge of them. They're in charge of the story. They can sit outside of it to a certain extent and treat it as a story, which means they can get bigger than that story. And, I think
why
that's,
Shakespeare is so important?
oh, there's no question.
How does he give that in the characters in the plays?
Well, he does it, first of all, through just unmastered complexity of character. His characters are so deep and truthful and real. He's not capable of writing a one-dimensional character. But there's something else that I think is really key to that, David, which is the language. Because Shakespeare took the common language of the people and he elevated it by turning it into verse. And iambic pentameter, which is the verse form he used, is as close to the natural rhythm of speech in English as any verse form, but it's still verse. And by elevating that language, he's actually ennobling the language, and he's ennobling the people who speak the language. So the people are not simply naturalistic representations of themselves. They're better spoken, they're bigger, they're more beautiful, they're more articulate. And being able to master that, it elevates not only who you are, but who the people you're playing are, which is, by the way, exactly what hip hop artists do. They take the language of the streets and they turn it into verse, and by turning it into verse, they elevate it.
Let's bring it to contemporary. There's a fellow that's in our play who said in prison he had never seen a play, and he started reading Arthur Miller, and he said he found he could identify with the emotions of the characters in there, and that that was his starting point for reconceiving what his life could be. I found that a very exciting realization that he shared with me.
That's so beautiful.
He particularly talked about The Crucible and A View from the Bridge.
Yeah, beautiful.
Isn't that interesting? It's
fantastic.
I know sometimes when I meet people, I say that's right out of Romeo and Juliet, thwarted love. It's very exciting that the theater, when it's at its best, mirrors us, doesn't it?
That's right, absolutely. And yet it mirrors us, but it's not simply a direct mirror. It also changes things enough that you can get perspective on it. At the same time, you're identifying with it. And, your friend, he's identifying with John Proctor. because John Proctor has sinned in the crucible, that character. He has fallen from grace. He has hurt somebody he loves. He lies in order to try to save somebody he loves. And finally, he realizes he can't lie anymore. Even if the cost is death, he actually has to say, this is my name. It's the only name I have, and I can't besmirch it by lying. And to watch somebody go through that process is so powerful, because it's also a challenge to us. Can we actually find that line and say, I am not going to conceal or lie about who I am. I'm going to maintain that no matter what the consequences.
You make me want to rush to see a play. I'm hungry. I'm doing cold turkey, not having been to the theater. When a play is in, before you go into production, do you sit down with well, if the playwright's alive, but with the director and some of the actors, and explore the sub-level emotions?
Absolutely. It's, all of the talk that we do about plays, it boils down to two simple questions. Why should we care about this story? And once we figure that out, how do we make the audience care about it? And that's all about teasing out what are the problems that are like us, what are the drama, what are the conflicts in the play that are like the conflicts we have in life? How can we make that read to an audience when we're doing it? How can we bring this play close to us? And by bringing it close to us, hopefully it brings it close to the audience as well. And that's, when we're talking to the playwright, when I'm talking to the director, when I'm talking to the actors, that's always the goal of every conversation.
Yeah. I remember years ago, I'm sure you're familiar with it. In San Quentin, there was the acting troupe, a guy named Rick Clucci.
Of course, I knew Rick. Yeah.
And he told me that the play that inmates responded to most was Waiting for Godot, which baffled at that. Now, Waiting for Godot is not considered so complex, but when it was first done, critics were puzzled by it.
Right.
What was it about it that men that were incarcerated saw in Godot? Was it the waiting?
It's so interesting, because I actually saw Rick's production of Waiting for Godot with prisoners, which were people who were held and incarcerated, and it was fantastic. It's partly that the waiting, the sense of not being able to move on with your life, but it's also the uncertainty about when are things ever going to change? When is Godot ever going to show up? These two guys don't know when that's ever going to, and they have to somehow live with not knowing, and they have to fill the time while they're not knowing. And boy, did I feel like that cast understood on a level I'd never seen before.
The play is really extraordinary because, well, it baffled Broadway and I saw the original production, Burt Moore, P.G. Marshall. Wow. I was as confused as everyone. And then when I was working with the Free Southern Theater, and they were going into the fields with people in the South, Black audiences, and the whole purpose of it was to have an integrated cast. They said that Godot was so popular and so received. And then I saw a production at the Classic Theater of Harlem where they flooded around. They were on a rooftop, and it was New Orleans right after Katrina.
Oh, wow.
And that wonderful actor from The Wire, Wendell Pierce.
Wendell Pierce, yeah.
It was extraordinary. And I thought, what was this? Why was I perplexed about this? It is so clear that they are waiting for something that may never happen in their lives.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Exactly right. Exactly right, David. Jeez.
Isn't that exciting when the theater can do that?
It's incredibly exciting. Not all of us, like you, went from the theater into just complete social justice work, but all of us understand why you did it, David. Because
I never left the theater.
Exactly. You're still doing it at the castle.
Oscar, we sit at meetings, and sometimes I would poke Sam Rivera or Stanley Richards, and I said, it's going too long. We're losing the audience. And I remember Sam said to me, this isn't theater. And I said, everything is theater. There is something about commanding the attention of the people. It may not be production, but if you want to be successful at a community meeting, you have to embrace the emotional content has to be relevant to the people that are sitting there.
And see, David, you're just repeating the thing that I said. when you're talking, you have to know why you care about it, and you have to convince the audience that it's worth them caring about. And that's not just theater, that's communication in life. That's what we always have to do. We have to express what matters to us in a way that somebody else can connect to it.
How do you maintain your passion? Because that's what this is all about, isn't it? Is that when I walk into a theater, I sometimes I see critics and I knew critics, and they always look like they were waiting for something terrible to happen. I always go in praying that I'm going to be exhilarated. That I saw a movie last week. It was a film adaptation of a play, The Father. Anthony Hopkins' performance. I went into a movie theater. Of course, no one was there but me. But I was elevated emotionally. I couldn't believe how. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't, but I can't wait to.
It's a landmark performance of
Wow.
an actor finding the emotional content. It's a man with Alzheimer's. If you ever saw, the play was with Frank Langella.
Right,
I think
I
I'm quite good, but it's seeing an artist dig in, and of course Hopkins is an extraordinary actor to begin with.
But isn't that thrilling?
Yeah, it is. What is before we lose you? This is gonna be like a Rona Barrett question. What was in your theater going? Were there moments that were so important, so valuable that they were almost life-changing, that you connected so strongly?
I got to say there were many moments like
I'm
that,
sure.
David, and I still have them. The first one was when I was 5 years old, and at the community theater in Rochester, Minnesota, when I grew up, they were doing West Side Story, and the first gang rumble happened, and then the back of the theater opened up, and a real police car drove into the middle of the stage with policemen in it who jumped out, and I was gone. And I literally think I have not wanted to do anything but theater ever since. And it's that blurring of the line between what's real and what's theater. And of course, you and I know that the theater is real, just in a different way.
Well,
but I feel so lucky to
Fortune in Men's Eyes changed my life. When I read it, I was devastated by the content, not realizing it was the playwright's experience, that he wrote it in a catharsis. Did I ever think that it would reroute my life? But from the stage, the content of the play sent me to Rikers to see it, shocked by the images that the play was reflecting. And the Fortune Society literally grew from the stage at the Actors Playhouse after discussions with the audience, when men in the audience who had done time introducing themselves. That's passion. That's the theater when it scrubs and that's probably why All About Eve is my favorite movie, because about the theater and about the backstage and Oskar, we could probably do this for a day and a half.
You could.
But thank you so much.
Well, David, thank you. This was really fun. But what I really want to thank you for is you are an exemplar of what a human being should be. And the fact that you came from a professional theater background to create the organization that you created is so inspiring and moving to me. Every day, I'm glad you're around.
Thank you. And this half hour has been a healing experience for me. Thank you, Oskar Eustis from the Public Theater.
Thank you very much.
Theater, ER. Thank you.
Life don't change in time, don't change. Life don't change in time, don't change. Life don't change in time. Life don't change in time, don't change. Life don't change in time, don't change. Life don't change in time, cause it stays slow. Crime gon' turn to time and it pays more. Think about the tears you cry, think about the fears you hide. Life don't change in time, cause it stays slow. You
young and still shooting, pill popping the movement. Mother raising babies while they kids themselves. As our idols overdosing as they killed themselves. Why is no one talking moments of this real world deal? Damn, here to stay alive till my death do come. Here to speak about the pain, even the death moves, son. Why we never seek a change like we kept coupons. As the beauty hides and reigns, guess we accept gruesome, huh? Life don't change in time, cause it stays slow. Crime gon' turn to time and it pays more. Think about the tears you cry. Think about the fears you hide. Life don't change in time cause it stays slow. Life don't change in time, don't change. 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 The tears you cry, think about the fears you hide. Life don't change in time, cause it stays slow.
Good afternoon. My name is Andre Ward, and I'm the Associate Vice President for the David Rothenberg Center at the Fortune Society. And today we're going to be involved in a really robust conversation about why do we think the arts are an important part of the work that we do at the Fortune Society. The Fortune Society, as many of you know, has been around over 53 years or so, and actually started out with arts work as a motivating factor and force to develop what we now have as a 53-year-old organization serving over 9,000 people. And so that artwork looked like acting. Art also takes on the form of what we do now in music and in poetry. And today we have some really powerful leaders who are part of the Fortune community and family that's going to answer that question. What do we think that the arts, or why do we think that the arts are an important part of what we do at Fortune? And I'll start off by passing this question on to Dr. John Ronowitz. And John, thanks so much for joining us today. You know, the arts are extremely important to you and me and all of us on this call. And before we get to you, Doc, I'll just, talk about my own personal experience. The arts have been a major part of my life. In all of my studies, it always called to me that how can I amplify in the world a lot of what I read and studied as it relates to social change, criminal legal reform change, and just human transformation. And so I found myself, after studying and after being involved in various efforts to learn more about myself, started writing poetry. And I developed a strong affinity for poetry, having written almost 4 poetry books, and just really wanting to use that poetry as a means to inspire people to love, to heal, to help, to honor, to appreciate all those different facets of the human experience. And so poetry became an outlet for me as a way to impact the world in certain ways. And so this whole thing of us looking at how do we impact change and how do we affect meaningful change has all to do with like this idea of how do we use the arts to do that. So I'll turn it to you, Dr. Ronowitz. Talk to us about, why do we think that the arts are an important part of the work that we do at Fortune?
Well, thank you, Andre. Thank you for that wonderful introduction and getting the conversation started. My name is John Ronowitz. I'm the manager of creative arts at Fortune. And I have been an artist my whole life. I've been a musician my whole life. And so I'll just talk about how this has been part of my journey of, let's say, in the last 10, 12 years. When I was incarcerated, the first thing that I did when I got upstate was I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try to keep to myself. I just want to get this over with. I don't want to really interact too much with other people, whatever. But somehow the word got around that I played the guitar. And the next thing I knew, I was in this small little music room inside the gym. And it was winter time and it was crazy snow up there. And so before I knew it, I was there 3 days a week, and we were making music. Sometimes it was kind of rough, but it was just a great way of giving me an outlet, giving me a place to go in a very difficult situation. So when I got out and I found my way to the Fortune Society, I met Joanne Page, the CEO of the corporation, of the organization, and she said, I understand that you were involved with this music room up there. Is this something you'd like to do here at the Fortune Society? And I thought, well, yeah, sure. I mean, I need a job, I need a place to be, and hey, this is something I love to do. And so that was 9.5 years ago. And over time, it has just being at Fortune is a transformative experience. But the fact that I was able to do it and make my music and get to know other people through music and theater and creative writing and drawing has enabled me to really turn my life around and just get my act together, to use that phrase. And so it just continues to be this place that I can go to really be a member of this community.
So get your act together, literally and physically, literally and.
I thought I just
allegory, right? That's just a beautiful way to put it, John. Definitely, as we're all working to get our acts together in so many different ways, John. Anything else, though? John, anything else to add?
I don't at this point. I want to leave it there because I know some of the things that other folks are going to say I will be able to really relate to and maybe piggyback on. And so, maybe we could
Sure.
introduce our next esteemed guest.
Absolutely. And again, taking from what you're saying, Dr. Ronowitz, it's this idea of, how do we develop the act? Like, how does it heal us? How does it help us grow? Again, our founder at the Fortune Society, David Rothenberg, started a play called Fortunes in Men's Eyes, which gave birth to what we now have as the organization, as I said earlier. So arts has driven a lot of what Fortune does. And so now I want to hear from someone else. We have Guy Woodard that joins us as well, right? Guy is also like into the arts in so many different ways. And we want to hear from you, Guy. Like, what are your thoughts on why do we think that the arts are an important part to the Fortune Society? Guy?
Well, as John said, when he went upstate, he wanted to isolate and be to himself, and then that art brought out other people, just knowing that he did it. There's something about prison. I mean, it's not someplace I recommend somebody want to go. But in terms of art, they laud you if you're an artist. Now, you say the word art, just the word art as a not as a medium, but just as a word. They don't think of Beethoven, and they don't think of Hemingway. They think of Rembrandt, and I'm Rembrandt. If I did someone a portrait, it gets all over the place because that's the only thing you could actually send home. The only thing you can buy for your family is that, and so that and I'm very good at that. So that's makes me people. I'm walking down the hallways, the corridors, and I'm Picasso or Rembrandt. They don't even call me Guy. So I mean, in jail, I couldn't be alone. I mean, other than actually when I work, I'm alone, but I couldn't. People are online to get a portrait. They used to pay me a carton of cigarettes to get online to do a portrait. Well, I was in the feds with a lot of Italian guys that had a lot of money. So, but yeah, it's I mean, I'm a celebrity walking down the hall, with nothing else, just the art. Now, as I came out and got into the Fortune Society, and David let me try to teach, I didn't think I was at all equipped to teach because I don't even like talking. I really don't. I'm an observer. I watch people. I'm an introvert. I'm a devout introvert. I like watching people rather than participating in that. But it turns out that when it came to art, I couldn't help but talk. My class over in Long Island City it's got to be the most popular thing in the building. They people actually, me and John's class, people who finished the program would come at night. You know, if nobody lives in the neighborhood, can I be in the class? Yeah, you can come. I mean, it's no credit. You don't need any credit, but I kept a full class even at night when I finally got a night class because they lobbied for it. It's I can't describe it to you. People come to the class. Everybody says I can't even do a stick figure because I don't teach people who are artists, or I very rarely get someone who's an artist. I usually get people who they think they can do nothing. I tell you, if you can write, you can draw because that's drawing. You know, when you make an A, you make it look like an A because you learn that's drawing. And when they look at it that way, especially, you know, I'm hands-on like John is. You know, John will put your finger on the note. I'll put your finger on the pencil. You know, and once you start, you know, you're in it. You know, and once they produce something, and then they're really competitive. So if somebody does a nice thing they send home and their family is crazy about it, the next person wants to do it. Yeah, the arts is, you know, like I said, I'm not really cut out for that. I didn't think I was cut out for teaching or for speaking at all. But apparently it worked very well. You know, you can look down the halls in Long Island City, you'll see their work. It amazes me, you know, it amazes me. But it's not magic. It's not magic. You know, we all got it.
Yeah, Guy, that's really powerful. And speaking is actually an art, right? That's an art in and of itself, too. The ability to communicate to people, be it through word, through art, through writing, through song. And, you know, Guy, when I reflect on my time of incarceration, you know, all of the genius that was around me, right? There were people that made like leather handbags, right? From nothing, get the brand new leather, put together a handbag that looks like something out of a Louis Vuitton store, right? You have people that obviously drew as artists, right? And their paintings were literally lifelike. I remember meeting someone inside who was an artist. He said, one way you can tell a really good artist, if you look at the eyes and the eyes look real, that's when you know it's a good artist. That's one thing I always learned and picked up. And so thanks for that, Guy, and just your leadership and teaching.
Let me just say something. Since you said that, that's garbage. Garbage. What does that mean? Yeah, I mean, I can do eyes better probably than anybody because I am photorealistic, but that don't make me the best artist. Because I think that Van Gogh you don't see no eyes in Van Gogh. They ain't looking at you, but he's out of this world.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's only worth about $100 million.
No, absolutely. It's absolutely. I guess that's a matter of the technique.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You can make the eyes look real.
Maybe you don't even like painting, but you love interior decoration.
Absolutely.
That's art.
Absolutely.
I mean, and you love it. You just want to sit it that's art.
Absolutely, Guy. And so we want to transition now to someone who's no stranger to the screen and no stranger to obviously sharing powerful thoughts. And as we talked about the arts, right, I thought about this acronym, ARTS. And the arts to me stands for actively releasing thoughts. And THOGHT, the S is the capital big S at the end, stands for art. Actively releasing thoughts. And that's in whatever form it is in, right? And this person is no stranger to actively releasing thoughts. So I'm going to turn it over to Doc. And Doc, welcome and thanks so much for joining us. Why do you think that the arts are an important part of Fortune?
Well, I don't think I'm qualified to give my thoughts. What I can tell you is what I know. I'm not going to put a thing. What I do know is it's life-saving. Let's get that out the way. The arts. It allows me to express myself like never before. My stint of incarceration dealt with a lot of refraining from being hurt, but for speaking out. I'd be like in SHU, banging on I was the guy that kept you up all night. If you came to the box and there was somebody banging all night, that was me. Because I'm not being heard. And so what the arts department and Fortune Society has allowed me to do has afforded me the opportunity to express myself in different ways. And we're talking about music, talking about creative writing, acting. I've been home since 2018. I haven't stopped yet. I haven't stopped yet. I got involved with just like John's music program and never looked back. So now I'm like a few songs deep, damn near album ready, like really like some social conscious songs. That stuff in the museums. I mean, my life has changed. I don't know. Okay, so like 2 years ago, if you asked, who would have asked Doc about Doc, it would have said, "Oh, Doc, letter P. Let's just use the letter P. The poor guy." But now if you say, I say, "Oh, Doc, the letter P, the poet." Right? Then you would have said, "Doc, letter A, describe." First letter come to mind. You might have been asshole. Now you say, letter A, first come to mind, Doc, artist. Oh my God, come here, come on. Where they do that at? Fortune Society, where they build people, not prisons. And the prisons is not literal brick and mortar. We're talking about like a mental prison. We're talking about like a spiritual prison. I really feel like myself today. And more, I get inspiration from you guys at Fortune. Like I walked in there, it was just the culture. The culture is just different. Inspiring, I felt like I'm looking at you, Andre Ward, looking at people like Stanley Richards, Will from ATI. I'm looking at Guy. You guys like. I look up to you guys. You may not know that, but Sean. I couldn't do it without John. I mean, Jamie, creative writer, teacher. Oh my God. And then my class. Yeah, I got support. I could keep going on, but I don't want to hold you guys up.
No, it's fine. It's fine, Doc. And thank you for that. And just reflecting on the power of your words, right, Doc, and the way you communicated through your artistry, right? For those who haven't heard like what you say, right, in the art form shape that it takes, right, they're sorely missing out. So we're going to make sure that people get access to hearing some of the stuff that you have said. But we are a reflection of each other, Doc, right? In the highest form of our expression of artistry, in whatever form it comes across as. So we all admire each other in different ways. And we admire you too, Doc, for you being an artist, right? As we admire each other in different ways. Because it keeps us inspired. And I think God alluded to, it's like everyone like loves, may not be centered in this particular art expression, but they like this other art expression that they may not be as strong in. And that's how we complement each other and keep each other inspired. And speaking of inspiration, right, I'm going to transition right to somebody else who's also inspiring. And she obviously is with us today. And we're going to talk with Becky. And Becky, like introducing yourself and the question, like, why do you think that the arts are important part of the work that we do at Fortune, or important part of Fortune?
Thanks, Andre. Thank you for inviting me to this panel. The Creative Arts Department has been my savior, my healer. Doc is my doctor. He's the word bird, and he's the one who recruited me. And I was very resistant. I had no exposure to any art in my life, other than arranging flowers in a vase. So the inspiration that this community has brought and to me has been amazing. It not only has helped me heal internally, it's helped me heal externally. I have found community, family, inspiration. But what I think is even more important is it's safe. I feel safe in that spot. It's sacred ground when we go to creative writing and when we go to music cafe or when I take an acting class. And all of these things have helped me not only learn how to begin to understand myself as a human being, but they've helped me express myself as a human being. They've helped me understand other human beings. We've created this close-knit community that is my lifeblood. This is my family. And their support and is vital to my existence. Really it is. And I can't find myself in a better group of individuals that have they've been my nurturer. Doc planted the seed, but he hasn't left it alone. He pokes it and waters it and prunes it, and so does all of the whole class. And I think the most essential thing is, like I said, they give you this space where you're safe, you're welcomed, you're encouraged, you're inspired. And I have learned so much from this community. And so it just keeps opening up and reinventing itself. And it's a privilege to be a part of this. And thank you, Doc, for pushing me.
Hey, thank David next time you see him.
Well, of course, David, but you were persistent, and I can say, no, that's not for me. And now I breathe it. I can't live without it. So it's transformative. This program is transformative, and it is a solid foundation on which, like John said, you can grow from. You get your act together. It gives you that place, and it gives you the language and the tools. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's really powerful, Becky, again, that you mentioned that. Our arts department is so very valuable to the Fortune Society. We have these 12 domain of service areas, the arts department being one of them. And it's a part of this whole holistic way of engaging the human being that comes through our doors, right? People can have access to employment, access to education, access to substance use treatment, mental health, alternatives to incarceration, food services, housing, right? But also people's creative expression also needs to be attended to. And so Fortune has really done a wonderful job with all of your leadership, especially you, John, and others, right? To make sure we have a space, like you said, Becky, to which people can go to allow for their creative genius to come out, or their creative expressions to come out. And what better way to do that in the arts department? So Becky, we thank you. We're all inspired by it. We're all transformed by it daily through the work of our arts department. And so speaking of that, right, we have our next leader on this call, right, who's also going to be talking about this, right? This panel is, again, I told you, made up of some real powerful people. And Helen is no different than any of us in terms of being a powerful person. So Helen, turning it to you, like, why do you think that the arts department, right, or the arts is so much an important part of Fortune?
Wow. First, I want to say the first Thursday night meeting that I attended at Fortune at the Castle Academy, when I entered that room, I felt nothing but love. And I asked staff to allow me to be a part of this family, because I'm trying to save my life. After so many years of dealing in the act of addiction, 30 plus years, I seen nothing but ugliness. When I got here at Fortune Society, and I was introduced to art, music, writing, things that I never even thought imagine myself doing. I found right here at Fortune Society. And without it, I would still be seeing nothing but ugliness. And today, I look at the world so different. Oh, man. Through art, man. Through writing, music. So why is it important? Because that's the only way I'm going to make it. By looking at life differently. And with the help of Fortune, introducing me to things that I never imagined even doing. And I'm not no spring chicken. I'm 65. And I'm grateful that I was able to live again and see things that are part of life. Without having art, writing, music in my life, I'll still be seeing the ugliness. So without Fortune, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. And that was really powerful, right? Because the arts does save. The arts does heal. And I think the other thing the arts does, right, to Helen's point, right, in seeing the ugliness through the arts, right, it allows us to transform that ugliness into beauty.
Yeah.
Right, through our
Amen.
artistic expression, right, in whatever form it takes, right?
Right.
So that's the power of it, and the arts department captures that, allows us to take whatever ugliness is in the world and be able to give it back to our community in a way that's beautiful and that's easy to understand.
Palatable.
Right, because the complexities of all the ugliness is not sometimes easy to explain, right? But through the arts department, through the work of all the leaders on this call and all the others who are part of our arts community, we simplify it through our artistic expression, right? You know, I read a book before called Lockdown America. I think his name is Anthony Perini. He talked about this idea of theatrics of resistance and how all of our art forms like contributes to the resistance movement. And that resistance movement is in different forms, resisting self-hate, resisting oppression, right? Resisting like putting people in jails, in prisons, right? Resisting like policies, right, that negatively impact the lives of human beings. Resisting a world that doesn't want to have peace in it, right? So this theatrics of resistance comes in so many forms that everyone in this room takes. I just want to have some closing thoughts, like before we go, right? And what do we want to leave as the last word or thought or idea before we transition? And I'm sure we're going to have some more of these. And I'll start back in the order in which we came, right? And I'll start back with you, Dr. Ronowitz. John, some closing thoughts.
You know, the word that comes to mind for me is gratitude, folks. I am grateful to all of you. I am grateful to the Fortune Society. You know, every time that we have conversations like this, and these happen all the time, if you come to our creative writing classes or whatever, this is typical of what goes on. And every time I come to this kind of conversation, I learn something. I learn something about myself. I learn something about the world. And it's just as Helen says, you just start to see the beauty. You start to see the beauty everywhere. And that's just a gift. That's a gift that I am grateful for. So that's what I want to say.
Okay, now we're going to turn it over to Guy. Guy, any closing thoughts? Or Rembrandt, as I should say.
Well, it's Guy the artist, one word.
Okay, Guy the artist.
But the reason I picked that as my tagline is because that's what all my friends have always called me, Guy. You know, the artist.
Guy the artist. Got it.
Because I've been that forever.
Yes.
I want to say, I want to piggyback on John. I'm just grateful for this, opportunity, as well as a couple of other thoughts, about being as old as I am. And this is the first time I'm happy in my life. I mean, and I didn't come to the Fortune from under a bridge. I was a counterfeiter. I had 5 cars and 5 houses in different states. This is the first time I've been happy. I've been out 6 years. This is the first time I've been happy. And I also want to piggyback on something that is such a gift. I can't tell you how much. me, John, and Jamie especially, because we all are in each other's classes in Fortune. We have a lot of same students. We love the students. We follow them. We sit in on each other's classes. Our class, first of all, they hate school, and it's a school type format. Our class is a respite for them. When they finish, doing their program against violence or drugs or whatever, those discipline classes, they come to our class and it's a respite. They got a sigh of relief and release and relief. And they are welcome to, they jump in. They jump into whatever they were doing last time. They're looking forward to that. It's not us. It's what it is. It's what the arts are. And everything is art. Everything is art. You're not wearing anything that's not art. You don't have any package that's not art. You never bought a car that wasn't art. Some artists drew all of that. Everything around you, every room is art. Every room, or everything in the room, some artists did. And it's all around us. And when you realize that it's not unattainable for you, that you can be part of that, it's such a release. It's such a relief. Such a relief. And I really am. The testimony towards Doc, I really feel a lot. I appreciate you a lot more right now, Doc. A lot more. And yeah, this is the Fourth Society is much different from it. And I'm born and raised in Harlem. I just turned 50 19 years ago. And the thing is, I grew up with programs that they just play the program. They just play the program. I mean, this is, since the 60s, there's all these programs, drugs and whatever. People just play the program, to get whatever they want, drugs or money, whatever but they're not in the program. This is something different. I've never joined anything. This I can't get out of. This is my life. I'm a Fortunite.
That's right.
No, absolutely. God the artist. I got to make sure I say it right. God the artist, right?
You Google it. It's just one word. God the artist.
God the artist. Got it. And thanks so much for that guide too. And now we'll transition over to Doc.
Well, I think just keeping it simple. One thing, I look at Fortune's art program as like a compost center. Compost, like human compost, so like a cocoon, the metamorphosis process. You go in Fortune as a caterpillar and you come out butterfly. Man. It's just, it's just the way it is. So I'm just fortunate that I recognize that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to acknowledge Jamie Maleska, who's not on this call with her, but we certainly want to acknowledge her and her work and leadership in the writings class. And, Jamie is really powerful in her leadership in that area. So we want to acknowledge Jamie, who's in absentia, but she's certainly with us in the artistic spirit of things, right? And so we're happy for Jamie too. And, also want to just acknowledge, we had a couple of artists that recently transitioned, right? In the hip hop community. DMX is one and Black Rob is another one, right? And so Black Rob was from Harlem, God the artist, and DMX was from Yonkers. And they both transitioned. Just want to acknowledge and lift them up. And after we do that now, we just want to transition now. Becky, some closing thoughts.
Well, I have to piggyback on everybody here. I'm grateful. I'm inspired. Doc I love his reference to human compost. So, and the worm to the butterfly. But this arts program is about healing and growth for me. So let's keep feeding the compost and holding up community, because that's what it does. And when we hold up community, we hold up each other, we inspire each other. And Fortune has been, and this especially the arts department, is like a big hug for me. They hug me and hold me, and you have to honor that, and you have to give back to that. So I'm all about the growth, and the healing. And I am forever indebted and grateful. And I feel so honored to be here. Thank you. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Helen. Helen's amazing. But it's with your guidance and that we got here. I never knew I had an autistic cell in my body, and now I can't live without it. So thank you.
Thank you, Beck.
Love you guys.
And love you too. And speaking of amazing, I will transition to Amazing Helen.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone on this panel. I'm thankful. I am so thankful. I am so thankful that I walked into that Thursday night meeting and I don't know what to do. You know, I am so thankful that I've been introduced to things that I had missed out on life. I never been to a play. David Rothenberg took me to my first play. Jamie took me to my second play. I am thankful today. So,
Thank you.
Fortune, I'm just thankful. I am thankful that I'm a part of the Fortune Society and everything they had to offer. And I wish and pray that everybody can get in contact with Fortune, man, because this is the place to be. And I missed out on a lot, but I gained a lot since I've been here this year and a half. I have my own place. Never had a place, man. I am thankful.
That's really powerful. And I think all of us can say, I think all of us certainly echo those sentiments in terms of being grateful and being thankful to the Fortune Society, especially to the arts department for the work that it does. And Fortune, again, Fortune taps into the artist that's in the individual.
Yeah.
To build up their capacity to share their creative expression with the world, whether it be in saying a kind word to someone on the street, whether picking up someone's groceries when they're walking because it's too heavy for them, opening up the door for somebody, right? Buying somebody something to eat. Those are all like artistic expressions because it's rooted in love. And I think the art department, Fortune Society, is rooted in love in its work. And so I just want to thank all of you, especially the arts department, for this powerful panel, for everyone's commitment to making sure that the art department stays in existence, that the art department continues to expand and grow as Doc gets on his intense recruiting mission, right? He's recruited Becky and others, right? And we want to continue to build up the arts department. And so, again, thank you all so much, and we're going to do this again.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you for hosting.
Be blessed.
Thank you so much.
Love to all.
All right, everyone, have a good day.
Fortune Society offered me a variety of opportunities and the tools they threw me are guiding me to be a better man than I ever envisioned I could be. Help me see who I'm meant to be rather than who I gotta be. They building people, not prisons. What they unlocked in me was so electrifying, it sort of came as a shock to me. Cause I was headed down the path of destruction. Now to the people, I'm so different from my last introduction. My drive is at its best, I'm no longer lost in the matrix. On the road to success with a full tank and a destination, a place that were forsaken, to heights that were hidden. See, Fortune was my optician, they enlightened my vision. Couldn't see the bigger picture, my sights were stuck on the foolishness. Anger was my drug, had to learn how to stop abusing it. Patience, what I'm cruising with, done with the fast course. And it's plain to see I'm going places, minus the passport.
people missed shots on them same courts where the greats played. I was the man that made mistakes, now I'm the man mistakes made. I'm warming up to go higher, hot air ballooning it. Had I not learned from my ludicrous ways, I'd be a lunatic. I done sat in the room with this empty feeling of losing it. Dark days in the cell, the thought of change made it luminous. We wide awoke to our futures, can't let the past sleep us. It's time to show them the vision, we could be math teachers. I still envision them shootouts ever so vividly. The night that bullet pierced through my skin, that could have been it for me. Looked death in his eyes and saw how much I wanna live. When I started valuing time, I ain't had no more to give. No more making temporary things my mission at hand. Separate what's written in stone from what's written in sand. I refuse to let my story end where he was a good kid. Rather say change the world what a kid from the hood did.